Welcome to another Cardano update. Like always, make sure to check out our YouTube memberships and our Patreon if you want access to all of our charts and if you want access to our daily Discord updates. So today we have many things to talk about, and first I want to talk about the 4 hour. Here we finally broke above the trend line on the RSI, which I believe is a good start because we have been in a downtrend ever since we started this move to the downside. As you can see over here in October, we got rejected and that's what started this entire move. So the fact that we're back above the trend line is very good, but obviously to confirm that the low is in, we need to get a 5-wave move to the upside, and right now we seem to have a 1-2 setup, although I do have to say that this is not the best 1-2 setup because it's not really clear if the second wave move down is in or if this is actually a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 setup for the first wave, and right now we're gonna get the second wave move down. But I think as long as we manage to stay above that low over there, which is at about, let's say, 42.7 cents, then you could say that maybe this was actually a 1-2 setup, and right now we could be heading in the third wave. My target for the third wave is at 50 cents, but before we get to that target, we also have to break above this high right here, which is very important because breaking above this high is gonna break us out of the downtrend, and then after that we could even get to 50 cents, then get a fourth wave move down, and the fifth wave move up could put us maybe even above that high over there, which is at about 57 cents. So I think right now the best thing to do is to form a 5-wave move to the upside, and then after that we could focus on a move to the bull market support band. But obviously if we do not get a 5-wave move to the upside, this could always fail, and if we break below this support zone right here, which is, let's say, between 42.7 cents and 39.8 cents, we could get another low, and support for that is gonna have to be at the 0.786 support level of the much bigger 1-2 setup on the chart, and that is at 31.8 cents. But obviously that's the worst case scenario. The best case scenario is that we continue going up, because here on the daily chart we also got above the moving average and above the trend line on the RSI. I believe this is very good because we have been below this trend line ever since we started this move, and back here I believe we started this move in August. So not only that, but we also broke above that high over there, which means that we're no longer in a downtrend, and right now we could start a move to the bull market support band. By the time we get to the bull market support band, we could have some kind of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 setup on the chart, which could work as a first wave move to the upside, and then after that we could get an ABC for the second, and this 1-2 setup is gonna act as the 1-2 setup for the C wave of the main third wave, meaning that after that we're expecting a third wave of a third wave of a third wave, which could even put us, let's say, above the 0.786 resistance level of the previous all-time high. Getting above these levels right here is going to be very important because this is where we got rejected many times in the past. As you can see, during this time over here we got rejected about 6 or 7 times. So getting above $1.12 is going to pretty much confirm that maybe we're not in a bear market, and maybe this is not going to be an ABC structure to the downside, because this is the 0.618 resistance level of the entire move to the downside over here, and getting above it would suggest that this is no longer a B wave and it could turn into a much bigger 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 setup, which again could even put us at maybe $5 to $8. But yeah, until we get a move above the bull market support band and until we break above the resistance levels right here, I'm not going to be able to confirm that. And now moving to the weekly chart, I want to show you something very interesting here. As you know, we reacted to the exact same RSI levels as we did last year, I believe, back in this area, and as we did many times in the past, for example in 2023 over there, and even during the bear market in that area. And each time we found a low at that trend line, the price went up quite a lot. Even here after the pandemic drop, we got to an RSI level of about 35, and then after that we went from like 2 cents all the way up to like $3. So this is obviously good. And speaking of this pandemic drop over here, as you know, on the Bitcoin chart we also dropped to the exact same RSI levels as we did back in 2020, which is a very good sign because I think this confirms that we might be in a longer cycle, just because usually in a bear market Bitcoin does not go down, you know, this much so fast. I mean, even here during the bear market, during the A wave to the downside, the RSI did not really drop that low, and it did not drop in one straight move to the downside. But right now it was just one straight move to the downside without any kind of, you know, corrections to the upside. So I think this means one thing. I think this could mean that Bitcoin might overextend the cycle, but as I said, only if we manage to break above this trend line right here, which in the past it acted as support, as you can see, 3 times during the cycle, and right now it's probably going to act as resistance because that's exactly what happened back in 2017 in this area. We had a similar looking trend line. As you can see, it was tested about 4 times, and when we broke below it, that's when we tried testing it and we got rejected, which led to the C wave to the downside. So if we want to avoid this scenario, what we have to do right now is break back above it and then hopefully test it and maybe use it as support. And then after that, if we manage to break above the moving average on the RSI right there, That's going to confirm that Bitcoin might actually continue to go up until May, because in this cycle, each time we found a low, for example, back there or even back there, we went up for about 182 days, and right now, if we go up for about 182 days after that low over there, if the low is already in, that's going to put us in May. So obviously, I have no idea if that's going to play out or not, but I'm still expecting a move to the bull market support band, just because even during a bear market, Bitcoin first has to test the bull market support band and then decide if it wants to get into a bear market or if it wants to turn the entire setup into a 1-2, and then after that start a much bigger third wave. So that's going to be our main scenario until, we actually get to it. And after we get to it, obviously I have no idea what's going to happen, but the best case scenario is that we continue to go up, because for the time being, Bitcoin dominance is still at cycle highs. And why is this relevant? Because in the previous cycle, the bear market only started after Bitcoin dominance got to cycle lows, not when it was at cycle highs. And even in 2017, when the bear market started, we were down here at about 35%. So I think Bitcoin dominance first needs to get a move to the downside, and to get this move to the downside, we kind of need a move to the upside on the Ethereum chart and on the altcoin charts. And if we want that move to happen, we kind of have to break all-time highs on the Bitcoin chart, because otherwise it's not going to be able to happen. But once Ethereum manages to break above the previous all-time high of 2021, I think that could lead to a much bigger move to the downside on the Bitcoin dominance chart, because that's pretty much what happened back in the previous cycle over here. After we broke above the 2017 highs, that's what led to the altcoin season. So I think for the time being we are fine, but obviously if Ethereum breaks below the 0.786 support level over here, which is at $2,500, then I think the top is most likely in already and we're not going to get to $5,700. However, if we do not get another low right now, and if we manage to get back above the bull market support band, this could turn into a much longer cycle. Not only that, but on the USDT dominance chart, I showed you a couple of days ago that we got to the overbought territory on the weekly for the first time since 2022. And this is very important, because usually when we get to the overbought territory on the weekly, this chart goes down about 40% or even 60% in some situations. For example, this time in 2020, after we got to the overbought territory, we went down about 62%. And this was the entire altcoin season in this area, so obviously this chart going down is going to be very important, and I could show you many other examples. I mean, here in, let's say, March of 2025, we did not get to the overbought territory, but we still went down quite a lot. I believe this was a 40% move to the downside or something like that, 35%. And during this time, we went from, let's say, $75,000 on the Bitcoin chart all the way up to $125,000. And I could show you another example. For example, over here, I believe back in 2023, when Bitcoin was at, let's say, $25,000, that's when USDT actually topped in that area. And then after that, when it went down, let's say about 60% or so, that's when Bitcoin went from $25,000, I believe, all the way up to about $70,000. So I think this is showing us that we're going to get a move to the downside. I mean, the move to the downside has already begun, and right now we're already down, let's say, about 10% or so. And as I showed you already, it goes down about 40 to 60% each time it gets to the overbought territory. So if we get a move like that, I think this could lead to new, all-time highs on the Bitcoin chart. And I think this could mean that the cycle might overextend, but obviously, like I said, not financial advice. And going back to the Cardano chart, as I mentioned many times, if we manage to stay above this support zone right here, the C wave of the third wave could always happen, and the target for that is at $3.50. And after that, we could even get the fourth wave, and the fifth wave move up could even put us between $5 to $8. So right now, as long as we stay above the 0.618 support level of the entire 1-2 to the upside, this could still turn into a much bigger third wave later on. But obviously, people do not want to see a drop to 13 cents, because I know many people bought in this area or even back in this area, or in the worst case scenario, even back in the previous cycle. And I mean, if you bought in the previous cycle, or if you bought at like $1, all I have to say is that I told you not to do that. Even back here when we were at like $1.30, I told you not to FOMO in, because this might turn into a much bigger 1-2 setup. And what do you think happened? It turned into a much bigger 1-2 setup. Now, obviously, we went way below my support zone and we got, to the 0.786. I thought we were only going to get to the 50% support level. But yeah, I mean, we're still doing pretty fine, as I said, as long as we manage to stay above support. So that's pretty much it. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, make sure to check out our YouTube memberships and our Patreon if you want access to all of our charts, and if you want access to our daily Discord updates. Like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.